You know, the next hour or so, I think it's going to be pretty exciting for you, I'm sure, because you like to learn about technology, like to learn about what Intel is doing. And the message from me to you, as we have spoken for the last so many months during Ivy Bridge launch, during our channel conference, plus the Windows 8 launch as well, there's a lot happening within Intel. And if you have observed our company over the last so many years, it's not only about we serving markets. Intel creates markets. That's the difference between us and many other technology companies. We invest for the future. We invest in markets which are not yet big in anticipation of the growth that will happen. And as this all comes together, you have seen us do a phenomenal job in so many technologies. 7-8 years back, we invested in Centrino, which has become a default in all the platforms that you see here, right? Wireless. Who can do life without wireless? Who can see or imagine life without wireless or without with wires all around, right? We did the same thing on the servers. x86 servers, when we started, it was next to nothing. We have come here far different from where we started. And we are absolutely going to do the same thing for devices, smartphones, tablets, and convertibles, and ultrabooks, all in. And as you track back over the last 18, 24 months, we have started to put the pieces together. You may not have observed that closely, and today is the time when it all will be kind of laid out. And you are absolutely, we are encouraging you to ask questions and give your opinions as well, and what you feel about the story. Because we feel, like the video mentioned, this indeed is going to be a game-changing year for Intel. 2013, we are starting to crank. And I personally saw that 2 weeks back at Mobile World Congress. Did any of you attend that event? Were any of you there? It was a great show. It was a phenomenal show for us. We had a great bunch of designs that got launched, including Asus PhonePad. We had a great bunch of designs from smartphones getting shown up there, which have been launched globally with service providers and brands like Acer. And we have a lot more coming. So for us to give you a sneak peek into what's happening in the next 12 to 18 months, what we're going to do in touch, what we're going to do in perceptual computing, what we're going to change the Ultrabook with, what are we going to do in devices and make it a secure and better experience. All of it to explain and get your feedback on. We have with us Leighton Phillips, is the Director of APAC Product Marketing based out of Hong Kong. And I would invite him up on stage to tell you the entire story. And then let's have a conversation around what else do you want to see from our side in terms of regular updates, and also get your perspective on how you see the industry in Malaysia shaping. So without further ado, Leighton.
Okay, you guys can do that okay? Okay, good. Happy New Year. You're the snake, right? So I wanted to walk through top to tails for what we're doing in 2013. I'm going to quickly show you where we ended 2012, but then more particularly show we had CES in January, MWC 2 weeks ago, and a lot was announced at those two events, and you've probably heard about a lot of those announcements. I'm going to give you some nuance and color of what sits under that. Let's get straight into it. We've got a lot to get through, so we'll keep moving now. Let's just all go. You got to turn it on. Here we go. Hey, so We won't cover data center today, and if there are some questions that you do have around data center, certainly in the Q&A session at the end, happy to take them. If we want to go deep in another session, we'd be happy to do that also. So, but one thing I want to make a point I want to bring out at the start here. Intel is one of the, if not the only company that is now building the silicon architectures from the data center through to all of the client devices, all of the embedded devices. There is no other company yet on the planet that is building the silicon right across that. And what we're finding is that the innovation spillovers we're seeing from what we create in the data center suddenly having appearance and relevance to a phone. Classic example now is even the Atom architecture sitting in the data centers. And the security we've been building into the servers ending up on these things. Very few companies are understanding the spillover of innovation across all these different form factors, and we're learning a lot from it. I'm going to share some of that with you today. And maybe unusual for Intel, but today we're going to start talking about the phone first. We're a PC company. I think you've remembered us as that. But the PC business is just one piece of broader Intel today, but we're going to start today with phone. I want to begin here with where we ended 2012. Now back in 2011, you may recall that for the first time ever, Google came on stage with Intel, an Intel developer forum, and said, we are going to start optimizing the Intel architecture for Android. And prior to that, we really had no game to play because it was not optimized for the architecture. From 2011 that began. Within 9 months, we began seeing the design starting to come through the industry. By the end of last year, we ended up with these designs, I think in 9 countries around the world, I think it was. We ended up with these designs, some of the largest players on the planet. And we're just getting started. And I'm going to show you some data soon on how we performed. This was a really interesting, you can check this out at Anantech if you want to get all the data. And in comparison between our first phone, just getting started with our first phone, which was this Motorola Razr I, and compared to pretty much most of the leading phones on the market today. And this is a performance review. And even out of the blocks, our first single core product was outperforming all the dual core products, phone-based products on the marketplace. Now that's performance. Everyone says, well, that's great, Intel, we've known you for performance, but at the end of the day, when you use performance, it chews up battery life. So how are you doing with battery life? So Verge did this very detailed study, and again, you can find the reference there. Yeah. Let's get you the reference if you want to go deep on this one. But what they did with this study is took the identical phone from Motorola. It's exactly the same system architecture, exactly the same Android BSP and version, and the one's running Qualcomm and running Intel. And just looked at battery life, system battery life. And you can see the data here, 8 hours, 40 minutes versus, 7 hours, 20 minutes. This is the difference between a phone that lasts all day and a phone that doesn't. And we're not going to give you just the best performance, we're going to give you the best battery life. But again, this was where we ended last year. Let's talk about then where we're going from here, and I'll show you what we've done at MWC. This is the roadmap we're disclosing publicly around our smartphone silicon. So what you saw in that Razr data was this, let me see if this, there you go, was this Medfield architecture here. Single core, it actually doesn't say here, but it runs 32 nanometer in terms of process technology on that manufacturing. I'm going to show you some data on these two architectures that we launched at MWC 2 weeks ago. And at the end of the session, I'm going to give you some insight into what's coming next. Okay, so we came out with this product, which is referred to as Z2420, which is codenamed Lexington. It's a emerging markets architecture for smartphones. Think of it like that. And these countries you see tagged here are some of the countries now that are building specific designs on Lexington. And it's built not just in terms of hitting certain system price points to, attach to the discretionary incomes of the developing markets, but it has some very specific functionalities that are very peculiar to the users of emerging markets. So let's take a look at that. At a high level, this is still a single core and 1.2 gigahertz, hyper-threading, has all the bells and whistles you'd typically expect in a phone, whether it's the camera capability or the performance, etc., etc. But let's just more importantly go into some of the unique aspects. This has dual SIM, right? In this part of the market, you rarely find, in fact, you haven't found yet, until this architecture came to market, dual SIM capability. Very compelling, obviously, in emerging markets. You know exactly why. FM radio built in. Rather than driving a whole bunch of cloud data bill cost right to the user, you can drag down content through FM radio. Micro SD card slot. So, you know, keep the cost down when it's firstly acquired, but allow the ability to add to that as you go along. And then finally, wireless display. So even a low-cost, value-based smartphone that has all these capabilities, still in a home that probably has still a big screen. You can beam up all of the content you have on your phone up to that big screen using Wi-Fi as built into the phone. So it's built for these markets. It is very much cost effective, but as you can see, functionally wise, it is every bit of a smartphone. These are some of the designs. I think we're going to hear a lot more about Acer's product that they're bringing out. I think some of you have seen it, maybe you've touched it later. Please come up and have a look at this C1 that Acer have launched. But I think what's important is that this is just one design, and it's now going through many markets worldwide. You see two more here. Lexington, I can tell you, we spent a lot of time in Shenzhen, in China, and then in Taiwan. There is a wave of ODM design activity now being built around this architecture to bring a whole, you know, a wave of innovations of different form factors in phone and tablet to market. Here's what was launched at MWC PhonePad. Have you seen this yet? Have you touched it? There is one up here. You can play with this. So this is just a beautiful design. It's a real revolutionary concept too, in that you look at this as a tablet, a 7-inch tablet, but the design is, it's a full phone, full-fledged phone. And this is really challenging the consumer construct of, you know, do I phone and tablet, do I phone, tablet, and PC? What we've seen today is that the consumers are buying not less devices, they're buying more. But devices like this are really kind of starting to open up the opportunity for consumers to have phone and tablet in one single device. If you get a chance, come up and have a play around with it, and I think what you'll find, not only just its form factor, but in terms of responsiveness, I'm going to show you some data soon. This is as good as any 7-inch product on the marketplace. So you know what the 7-inch products are on the marketplace. This is as good as, and let me show you some data to kind of show you what I mean by that. Actually, I haven't got this data right here, but I can tell you the most two recent devices that came out, obviously from Samsung, one of them, and the other was iPad mini. The data that that Asus, I should say, is bringing out when they launched this, I'll show you the data, is outperforming both of those products, both in terms of performance, in terms of web performance and internet responsiveness, and secondly in terms of battery life. So again, when you look at a product like that and see all of that built into it, you would think that that sits in the 5XX, 6XX dollar price range. You may have seen it's a $249 priced product. And you know, relative to markets, it'll be higher and lower depending on how it comes in and out of markets. But this is not a 3XX, 4XX dollar product. This is a very cost-effective phone and tablet in one.